Okay, so thank you, everyone. It's Tuesday, December 16th, and we have Dr. Martha Grajdek joining us. She's going to be talking around burnout, one of my favorite topics, and a little bit about Dr. Grajdek. Um, so besides her PhD in industrial organizational psychology, she has her MBA as well, and her bachelor's was in psychology. And she's got a whole list of things that she does besides being an IO psychologist, a researcher, executive coach, speaker, author, philanthropist, and I will probably butcher this word. It's one of those words I have a hard time saying, abolitionist. It worked. Um, and so her expertise focuses on work-related stress and efforts to help others who experience the work-related stress issues. And so she takes that science with a holistic approach and examines the whole rather than an isolated system. Um, so she works to help others, but also teaches them how to take care of themselves. So I will pass it along to Dr. Grajdek to expand on that and help us learn more about burnout.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. If we could have the next slide, please. Stress and burnout are topics that are near and dear to my heart. I was myself a working graduate student for a number of years, and I created this presentation and this protocol specifically for adults who have full-time jobs, choose to also pursue graduate degrees, and of course have full-time lives. When you put all of that together, there is bound to be stress, and if stress goes unchecked for long enough, burnout can become an issue. So it's a slippery slope. For those individuals who are specifically in graduate school and are working and are managing their lives, I created this 30-minute burnout buffer. But in reality, this is something that anybody who leads a busy, demanding life can benefit from, can apply these techniques and these tricks and behaviors to their daily experience to help them to reduce stress. When you are the type of person who takes on the world by working full time, going to school full time, and managing a life outside of all of that, it can feel like there is a great deal of expectation, certainly from yourself, but also from those around you. You're expected to carry the load, never falter, do everything correctly, and keep going. And that can become very demanding. It's impressive on the outside. Those who look at you can appreciate the results they're seeing, but what you have to deal with as an individual can be tremendous. There's a great deal of pressure. So learning how to manage stress on a daily basis is critical so that it doesn't cross that line into burnout. If we could have the next slide, please. You've probably all heard the saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's why this protocol was so important for me to create. Learning how to cut your stress in a realistic amount of time by a realistic amount was my goal here. Although you may have tried different approaches to stress reduction, the reality is when you are under so much pressure from work and from school and from everyday life, you may not have a month, 2 months, 6 months to see results. What I wanted to do is to create something that within a couple of weeks, you will really start seeing and feeling a difference. And that's where this came in. The other consideration was the fact that a busy individual may have trouble fitting another 30-minute exercise into their already busy day. It's easy for those on the outside to say 30 minutes, who can't spare 30 minutes? But in reality, 30 minutes might as well be an eternity when your calendar is completely booked. So my approach includes bite-size breaks, 5 minutes or less at a time that you can fit into anywhere in between all those other responsibilities that you have every day. And collectively, you can still get the same stress management, stress reduction benefits. If we could have the next slide, please. One of the biggest reasons why I wanted to create something specifically for working graduate students is because I was one. And so I know firsthand how demanding that can be and how stressful that can be. And if we could have the next slide, please. The reason why this tends to hit high achievers, such as working graduate students, the most is because they are held up to such a high standard by themselves and also by those around them. They often compare themselves to others. They tend to have multiple bosses or multiple people that they have to answer to. You have a boss at work, you have at least one or two professor that has certain demands of you. And then, of course, there's your life outside of work and school. So high achievers tend to get hit the most with stress when all of these things come together. Next slide, please. So let's talk about burnout as it compares to stress. Sometimes people frivolously use those terms interchangeably, but they're quite different. Stress is a response to an external factor. Something happened. Somebody did something. There was a situation. Whereas burnout is more of a state of exhaustion, physical exhaustion, emotional, psychological exhaustion. Stress tends to be something that's short term. You could have repeated events of stress, or you could have events of stress that happen simultaneously, but they tend to be shorter in duration, whereas burnout develops over longer periods of time, and it also lasts longer. Stress tends to stem from various life situations, but when we look at burnout, it's the prolonged stress with no proper support, no proper tools for dealing with it that leads to that state of burnout. With stress, we can feel irritated, annoyed, maybe anxious. With burnout, now we're looking at feelings of hopelessness, detachment, disinterest, things along those lines. Stress can be a motivator in some instances. It can push you to get moving. It can motivate you to make a change, whereas burnout tends to demotivate. It tends to decrease your performance. So there's a big difference between those two. And of course, stress can be alleviated by relatively short breaks, whereas once you're in a state of burnout, the amount of time and the amount of effort that it takes for a person to work through that and to recover from that is considerably longer. So we're looking at significant time off and self-care strategies. Next slide, please. So once again, the idea when I approached this protocol was to start with 14 days. Let's see if we can cut our stress in half or somewhere in that vicinity without having to give something up, without having to quit school, without having to quit our job, without forsaking our friends and family. Next slide, please. So that's basically the goal is how much stress can we alleviate or decrease over the next 2 weeks to get a good head start, get a handle on all of the responsibilities and everything that comes with that much responsibility. And as I alluded to earlier, this is not about putting one more thing on the calendar, a 30-minute exercise that we really don't have time for. This is about short 5-minute proven habits or exercises or behaviors, things that really you can fit into anywhere in between all those other things you have to do, between classes, between meetings, between tasks. This is how we can accumulate the benefits of this kind of approach to stress management without having to create more stress by putting one more thing on the schedule. Next slide, please. Stress can be tricky. Sometimes it sneaks up on us. Sometimes we make excuses for it. We choose to ignore it. We pretend it's something other than what it is. And essentially, we allow it to camouflage. But all the while, it exists in our lives and it accumulates in our lives. But we have to be able to identify these stressors and address them on a consistent basis. Otherwise, it will spiral out of control. It is a slippery slope. And before we know it, we cross that line and we are in burnout. Burnout realistically doesn't really happen as a result of one big crisis. It's those small stressors, those small events, situations that add up, that happen endlessly over a long period of time, never get properly addressed, never have the time to recover from the accumulated effects of stress. And that's how burnout catches up with us. Next slide, please. So, for example, let's think about some clues that you may have experienced yourself that really are early detection, early clues for stress and stress that is spiraling out of control. Maybe you are tired and distracted. You're making more mistakes. You can't seem to focus. And then now you're worried about lack of focus and the mistakes that you're making. And that just adds more stress to your life, uses up more of your energy. It becomes a vicious cycle. But again, because we choose busy lifestyles, we are high achievers, somehow we excuse it, we accept it, and we normalize it. But that's when we get ourselves in trouble. We really have to be quite aware and pay attention to what's going on around us and what's going on with us, our behaviors and our bodies telling us that we are stressed out. This is why it's so important to pay attention and focus on early detection. Next slide. There are sneaky signs, if you will, that can be a surprise even to those who consider themselves pros, whether they're pros at identifying and dealing with stress or they're pros at being stressed out. Sometimes this really does sneak up on us. You might find yourself being short with others. And again, it's all too easy to excuse it. Oh, I didn't get enough sleep. Oh, I have a lot on my mind. There's a lot on my plate. It'll all be better as soon as I finish that project. Or the just one more thing scenario. Well, let me just get one more thing off my to-do list. So I don't have to do it tomorrow. But the thing with that is that there's always one more thing. Always, always one more thing. It's never ending. And If others find out that you can finish one more thing and one more thing and one more thing, they will make sure you never run out of things. It's a very slippery slope. What if you find yourself unable to concentrate? You've read the same line in an email over and over again, and you have no idea what you read. You may excuse that as, well, I'm just tired. My mind is fatigued. Sure, those are real things, but what's really happening here is stress spiraling out of control. We tend to make excuses because we want to be able to succeed and work through it and get through it and never admit defeat or fatigue or ask for help. But unfortunately, that's what gets us into trouble. Sometimes you may find yourself flaking out on your friends and family, things that you used to enjoy doing with other people, activities that you used to enjoy, you no longer do. You make excuses, or you say you'll show up and then you don't. Or one of my favorites is, I'll catch up on this on whatever, fill in the blank, this weekend. As if the weekend is somehow magical in the amount of time and energy it possesses in your favor. So everything else that you couldn't get done during Monday through Friday, magically you will have time to do on Saturday or Sunday. But the reality is, if you do that long enough, it won't be long before you're working 7 days a week, because it truly is never ending. And there is no catching up unless you're taking care of things as you go. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we all have ways of being able to tell what's going on with us. It's a matter of identifying these clues and paying attention. Sometimes we may think that stress is like a tidal wave, but oftentimes it's more like a silent alarm, and you really have to pay attention. So one of our responsibilities to ourselves is to be able to identify what is it about us, our behaviors, the way we feel, that are clues about the stress in our lives getting out of control or getting to be too high. Once you know what those clues are, you can then address what's going on before it goes too far, before you cross that line. Next slide, please. A good practice to begin is to write things down. And I'm not suggesting that everyone has to embrace journaling for an hour every day. I understand that's not everybody's thing, and that's not what this is either. Our approach is quick and effective. So whether you choose to use pen and paper or your phone or your computer to do it electronically, write some things down every day. Reflect on yesterday's mood. What was your mood like? And if your mood was changed during the day because of an event, were you able to bounce back? These are insights that people often just never even think about, never give any consideration to. So they're missing these clues about what's going on with them. So reflect on yesterday's mood. Scan your body. Write down what you're feeling. What does your body feel like? Is it tense? Is it relaxed? Is it a particular part of your body that's tense? Do you have a headache? And think about your behavior. Do a little bit of a behavior audit. How did you behave yesterday? Were you pretty even with your behaviors, or were you reactive? Or did you come apart or fall apart as a result of something stressful that happened? It's important to have these few minutes. Really, it doesn't have to be any longer than 3 minutes, a minute per item here. But when you get in the habit of paying attention to what's going on with you, you will begin to understand yourself and your body, its response, what it's saying to you. And then with time, you will begin to see patterns, because once we observe something over time, that's when we discover patterns. Next slide, please. As I said, it's all about little things that we can do throughout the day that will help us to get the results, to meet the goals that we want to meet in terms of our stress management. You've all heard of New Year's resolutions. Many people have them. They tend to be grandiose and they tend to fizzle by mid-February. But instead of doing that to yourself with just another big goal of somehow magically squashing stress so that you don't fall into burnout, why not start small? Because that's really the secret to success. Start small. Do those small behaviors. Fit them in throughout the day so that also throughout the day you are evening out the playing field. Stress is always going to be there. You have to make sure you are taking care of you and your ability to deal with stress on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And when you practice these things, they're easy because they're short, they're not very complicated in any way, so they're easy to fit into your day, they're easy to do, these are easy habits to build. And it's nice when you start seeing results. When you do something regularly, it becomes part of your routine. It becomes an automatic behavior of sorts. So this is why it's so important to engage in micro habits that really help your goal and help what you're trying to achieve with stress. Next slide, please. So again, no need to put one more thing on your schedule, but rather fit these little things whenever you can. Between meetings, between classes, between tasks, whenever possible, as you're starting your day, as you're ending your day. Make sure that you are committing to yourself first and foremost so that you can then deliver everything else that you're doing for the rest of the world. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some really simple, really quick habits that you can start and do all in under 5 minutes. The first one is a 60-second breather. This is so simple. You stop what you're doing and take a minute. Maybe if you're an overachiever, a minute and a half, and just do some breathing. Just do some breathing. Stop doing work, stop looking at your computer, and breathe. Slow, deep breaths. It's really simple, but it does wonders for your body and for your mind. The problem is people don't stop long enough to even think of doing these things. What about the 2-minute tidy up? Studies show us that a cluttered environment can add stress to our experience. So why not take 2 minutes once every couple of days or once a day, whatever your choice is, to declutter, whether that's your desk, your working area, your phone, your computer screen, whatever you feel needs a little decluttering, take as little as 2 minutes. You're making progress, but it's also symbolic. When we take the time to declutter in real life, we benefit psychologically and emotionally as well. And that allows us to lower the stress and our response to the stress around us. What about simply standing up? Stand up for 60 seconds, stretch, walk in place, walk around the building, grab a water, use the restroom. We are a society of sitters. We sit a lot. And while maybe on the surface it looks like an easy thing to do, when you do it for too long, both too long during the day and then too long over weeks and months and years, it really takes a toll on your body. It can become abusive to the body if we don't stand up and move around. So this is such a simple thing. Once an hour, get up, stand up, stretch. Maybe you do some jumping jacks, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes sense to you. But these are little things, so simple. Everybody can pick something, find something that will work for them, that they will enjoy. And feel free to mix it up, just so that you're not stuck at your desk, at those tasks, and working on your responsibilities without any breaks. Next slide, please. So, next slide, please. Easy things that you can do. Incorporate them into your day, but you don't have to take up more space on your calendar. Walk and talk. That's one of my favorites. If you have to be on a conference call or any phone call, as long as you don't have to be on camera, maybe you could walk and talk at the same time. Maybe you get to go outside, maybe you walk around your office or around the building. But again, this gives you an opportunity to get up and not sit at your desk. I like the next one that I have on the slide here, inbox zero. It's a little bit like working the express lane at the store. The idea here is to look at your inbox, which can often seem overwhelming, and maybe allot 3 minutes, let's say, to address as many of the emails in there as possible. These have to be emails that you can address in a very short period of time. Obviously, don't aim to address involving lengthy emails in 3 minutes. Things that you can delete or move for later or delegate to others or respond to very quickly. How many can you get out of your way in 3 minutes? It's a fun little game, but it helps you to feel accomplished, but also in a sense, get some decluttering done too. Most people have something in their life that they might procrastinate with. And when we procrastinate, the thing that we're putting off tends to hang over our head and create more stress as we go. The longer we wait to address it, the more it hangs over our head, the more it is in the back of our mind. Why not take some time in the morning to address that thing and just get it done, get it out of your way? You know you have to do it anyway. Just get it done. This could be an excellent way of decreasing stress for the rest of your day, because that thing that would have otherwise have been hanging over your head is gone. It's out of your hair. You don't have to worry about it. Simple thing, but it can be very impactful. Next slide, please. What about something as simple as 5-word journaling? Take some time to write 5 words to capture a mood or a victory. Focus on something positive. Again, you don't have to write a paragraph. 5 words, that's it. Something that you achieved, something that brought you happiness, something that made you less stressed out. Focus on good things and focus on wins, but write them down. When we take the time to write something down, we give it an extra acknowledgement. We give it some extra time and attention, even though it's a quick little exercise. How about pausing for long as you can realistically. What if you even had 30 minutes out of your day where you could put your phone and all your electronics in a do not disturb mode and really focus on whatever task you have to get done. Put all of your energy into that without interruptions. And for many, 30 minutes is all they could afford that day because they're being pulled in many different directions. But if you could even do that, that can be tremendous to just focus on something for 30 minutes without interruptions. Next slide, please. So, as you consider this 30-minute plan, 30 minutes a day, pick something, pick things, pick behaviors and habits that will work for you because those are the things that you can stick with. Don't choose things that you don't enjoy and you don't look forward to. Pick things that work for you so you can stick with them. Avoid being vague. If you want to do 5 things today to reduce the stress in your life, be very specific about what you will do. What are those 5 things? Being vague tends to lead us off our path. There wasn't enough definition, there wasn't enough commitment. Being vague can really throw you off your game. Be clear, but also be flexible. Things change from day to day. Surprises happen, situations happen. Be able and willing to be flexible so that maybe you had to change what you planned on doing for your stress management strategies today, but you did something so that tomorrow you can get back into focus and commit to a daily routine because consistency is key, but also commit to things that you can do pretty much anywhere. You can do at work, you could do at school, you could do at an airport, you could do at a stoplight. So those are the kinds of things that we need to focus on if we want to be successful with a simple 30-minute a day plan or cumulatively 30 minutes a day. Next slide, please. An easy way to approach such a protocol is to divide your 30 minutes into morning, midday, and evening sections. You can do 10 minutes of something, or you could do multiple things that add up to about 10 minutes throughout the morning hours. Same thing for midday, same thing for evening. Again, the idea is fit these little behaviors and habits into your day. Make this work for you. Don't put another thing on your plate to do that you now have to find the time to do it and figure out how you're going to make it happen. Make this work for you. Be flexible, but aim to get about 30 minutes of something collectively so that you can truly accumulate the benefits of your efforts. Next slide, please. One thing that you can do that is very helpful is to keep a record of your efforts. Not only can you look back and see the things you've tried and then determine what works and what doesn't work, but you can make adjustments from there. And use technology to your benefit. We have wonderful technology available to us, but whether it's a sticky note if you don't want to deal with your phone and alarms on your phone, or you choose to use something more sophisticated, set some alarms to remind yourself to engage in those things that will help you to keep stress in check. The bottom line is you have to be proactive. You have to fit these things into your day, and you have to be consistent. So why not use the tools that are available to you to make it as easy as possible, and then do your best to get about 30 minutes. I say 30 minutes, but if you get 25 minutes that day, that's better than nothing. Next slide, please. Use things like checklists. Get an accountability buddy. Get a person who will either go on the journey with you or hold you accountable on this stress reduction journey. It could be someone from work or a family member or a fellow student at school. So it's always nice to have someone else who will hold you to your promises to yourself, essentially, of working on stress management. Next slide, please. I put together a little sample recipe, if you will, of how your plan for the day might go, what kind of things you might choose to engage with in the morning, midday, and then in the PM in the afternoon or evening. But keep it fun, keep it interesting, change things up as you need to. This doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be consistent. And when we do things consistently, they become easier, they become part of our routine, and they can be automatic in a sense. Next slide, please. Remember to smile. So often we go through the day with serious faces and we forget to smile, whether you smile at other people, you smile at yourself in the mirror. Remember to smile. Our brains tend to be busy, especially when we have a lot of things on our plates. You're a full-time employee, you're a full-time student, you have a full-time life. There are deadlines and worries and responsibilities. Decluttering your mind is one of the things that we want to work on. There are some mind tricks that you can engage in to help you with that, to calm your mind, to declutter it, to make it a little bit easier on yourself, even though you continue to lead a busy life with many responsibilities. Next slide, please. One of the things that can be an easy exercise to calm a busy mind is the one-point focus. Find something in your field of vision to focus on. Maybe it's a plant, maybe you gaze out the window, maybe it's a mug on your desk, whatever it is. Gaze at it for 10 seconds. If you want to do it for longer, do it for up to a minute. Just make it a soft gaze. Let your body relax, let your eyes relax, let your mind relax, and focus on some deep breathing. If you have thoughts that interrupt, just ignore them and finish your exercise. It's very simple, but it's an effective way of calming your mind. And it can be very quick in how your mind responds to it. Sometimes you have to name it to tame it. Oftentimes people may say that they feel stressed out, but they are not identifying, they're not really thinking about what is it that's making me stressed out. Identifying your worries, labeling them, can help you to deal with them better. So what is it exactly that's worrying you? Is it something real? Is it something perceived? Is it something imagined that you worry that might happen? Thinking through these things can often be helpful. Next slide, please. And next. Sometimes it's difficult to focus, especially when you have a lot going on. The good news is that we can train our minds to focus better and to focus easier. If you find yourself trying to complete a task, whether it's work, whether it's school, whether it's something in your personal life, but you just can't seem to focus, rather than continuing to fight with it and feel like you're losing that battle, why not put your focus on something else? I thought of this tab close challenge. I don't know about the rest of you, but I tend to have about 10,000 tabs open on my computer. And if you ask me, yes, I need them all, but not really. So this is a really simple thing to do where you can just take a minute, 2 minutes to focus on going through all the different tabs you have open on your computer and closing as many of them as possible. Just let it go. If you haven't been on that tab for a while, if you're done with whatever's on there, just close it. This shifts your mind and allows you to actively focus on something else. Once you're able to do that, you found a focus, you found your ability to focus again. You can then go back to that task that was originally giving you so much trouble. Taking a break, I call it the 32 rule, but it could be the 35 rule. It could be the 50-10 rule, whatever you want to make it. Focus on whatever task at hand for a certain amount of time, not too long, and then make sure to take a break, whether it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes. By the time you're done with your full day, you will have taken multiple breaks, even though they're short breaks. But it will feel very different than working the entire day, not taking a break, or maybe taking a 15-minute break. So you can really benefit from taking these little micro breaks. And again, breathing exercises, those are always a good option. I always recommend that people take some time to breathe deeply and slowly. Now, the presentation is a little bit long, but I know that we're short on time, so I will wait for my instructions of whether we should continue or if we want to open some time for Q&A.
Yeah, I was gonna time check with about 10 minutes left to the hour. And I kind of want to open it up and see where everybody is at, because I'm writing my own notes and a little bit of my own questions. Curious where everybody else is at, of, anything that stood out for interesting insights, or a little light bulb aha moment going on. I'm just curious to, hear from those here. And if you don't want to come off mute, or if it's too noisy, go ahead and put it in the chat. But please, you're more than welcome to come off mute if you want to.
Hi.
Hi, Tamano.
Hi. Thank you so much for covering this topic. I am Tamano. I have a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology. I graduated last year, and then now I'm working. And then maybe I feel a little bit burned now, so that's why I'm gonna ask you this question. But so I want to know what's the difference between I'm not interested in and then I'm burned out. Because when you are not interested in, you feel demotivated and then you feel like your hopelessness in that field. And then you feel like you're stressed, but also if you are burned out, you have the same feeling. So I want to know the difference between those two things.
Sure, sure. Well, there are plenty of things in life that lose our interest, and that certainly is valid. Things that maybe were once interested to you are no longer interesting. And maybe you find yourself in a situation, whether it's job or any other life situation, where you have to do what you have to do as an adult, right? You have responsibilities. But that's a little bit different. Burnout is really more about that state of exhaustion, a state of hopelessness. That lack of motivation comes as a result, because if you think about it, if you're exhausted physically, psychologically, emotionally, you are drained. You have nothing more to give. There is no more you can give. You may find yourself that you have to keep going because life is what it is and we all have responsibilities, but you feel empty and you feel like there is no end in sight, no light at the end of the tunnel. That's burnout. That's different than, this was interesting to me 6 months ago, a year ago, but I've gotten everything I can out of it. And it doesn't excite me anymore. It's boring. And I think I could look for something else. But with burnout, there is that sense of exhaustion and hopelessness.
So I want to add on to what Dr. Grajdek just said. Burnout was a main focus of my dissertation as well. And I lived my dissertation. And so from that interest aspect, as I recovered from burnout, and to Dr. Grajdek's point in the beginning, it takes time. It was actually a couple of years for me, plus a bit more. And it was finding out the interest again. And so from an IO psych perspective, it was figuring out what I was really interested in and how to reframe it, how to look at it, how to play with it, how to touch it, how to interact with it from a different perspective. I like the coaching and mentoring side, but finding that accessibility from an independent, contractor or my own little business, a little difficult. So I kind of went the adjunct instructor route, and I get to start teaching a newly revised course that I built around talent development. And that was kind of my key of going, I did a whole lot of talent-based stuff when I was in HR and working on my PhD at the same time. And so that's how I've kind of reframed it, found another focus where, yeah, this is what grabs my jive. Just before this webinar, I had my weekly webinar time with my students, and I pulled out stuff from engagement survey that I did at a global organization where I used to work. And I could have talked hours and hours and hours and hours and hours about it. And, so it's finding the things that really your energy and how to reframe it. And it's also looking at where you are in life. Do you have to take on 3, 4, 5 things? So that was part of my burnout recovery, to Dr. Grajdek's, perspective of even looking at the tab close challenge. It was, okay, maybe I can't do 3 things anymore like I used to. Maybe it's just 2 things. I like to have several things going on in my life. Otherwise, I'm bored. So it's kind of reframing and even taking a break from whatever you were working on, or taking a break from the IO thing and just kind of go do something else. Take your brain away from it. Let it recharge that way. So just kind of some things from my own perspective of how I've recovered, how I've, you know, found, found my energy again within IO. But very good question, Tamano. Very good
Thank you
question.
so much.
Mhm. What else? Does anybody else have questions? Otherwise, I have a couple of questions. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, I thought that you really had a good list of recommendations, and I'm in that category of a super busy person, and I find that I practice some of the things on your list. I do the 60-second breathers. I do that often during the day. Um, Also the zazen, counting your breath. I do those. I also I do a I tend to work in 50-minute windows and then I walk, for the other 10 minutes. So I'm moving every hour. I think that helps a lot to recharge every hour. Also, I like to take like a midday break and walk the dog midday. So is a break from everything. And so it was a really good list. I try to be flexible and not too rigid. That's a challenge, but
Yes.
that was a good suggestion too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions before I kind of hop in with mine? Let's see. Let me see if I can fine tune. So maybe this is more of a comment to lead into a question. When I was doing my own research around burnout and the conservation of resources theory, and I ran into that spiraling aspect, that was a big eye opener of, oh, we can get caught in this, maelstrom, and how do we get ourselves out of it? And that was part of, my difficulty of heading into burnout in 2020, and then really just falling flat on my face in 2022 is recognizing being in that spiral. And I think that's some of the more difficult stuff, is really recognizing, and I think that's where the importance of doing those internal checks of, that body scan of, how's your head feeling? Are you, you know, just physically doing this all the time? Or, what are those physical things that are different? Brain zaps. And that's a, um, a chronic stress thing that happens in the brain. And I haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet. I just know that it's also a side effect for coming off of certain antidepressant drugs, and it's associated with chronic stress. So I'm like, oh, good grief. So that was just a really interesting connection from research into how it looks real life. And one of my questions, actually from a neurodiversity perspective, Dr. Grajdek, is it's interesting that some of this um, kind of how-tos and kind of the how to slow yourself down, how to create the flexible schedule, because from a neurodiversity perspective, having structure can be good for some, but for others, that schedule just, it's too restrictive. So just curious of if and or how you have worked with others that are neurodiverse, and how they've been able to use some of these pointers.
So the general idea is to do what we need to do in healthy ways. Let me just throw that in there to reduce stress and to make us more resilient to stress, to help us cope stress. If for one individual, a more structured environment will keep them less stressed, then you have to go with that as a way of customizing what works best for every person. Another person may be stressed out by the idea of a schedule because they see it as too much rigidity, even if another person may not consider it as such. So we have to be flexible in our ability to customize what works best for us. And that's one of the things that I like to stress. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. There are enough people and programs and protocols out there that claim to be the panacea. I have the answer. This is the answer. This is the only way to do this. Well, it's not real because everybody will do best if there's a certain level of customization in the approach for them. So it has to be individualized in that sense.
Thank you for that. So we're definitely at time. So any last questions or comments from anyone? All right. If not, thank you everyone for joining. Once Lee sends the video file to me, upload it to our shared folder. So by the end of the week, this will be up in YouTube. So if anybody wants to review what Dr. Grajdek had gone over, kind of remember some of the slide content of the how-tos. It should be up by the end of the week, and I'll post on LinkedIn the link and when everything is up in YouTube. So if nothing else, thank you everyone for joining. Very much appreciate the questions and the comments and the inclusion.
Thank you,
Very
everybody.
much. Yeah, thank you. Everyone, take care. Have a good night. Oh, come on. There we go.